You trust scientific research, right? Well, what if I told you that a huge and growing chunk of it was completely fake? Not just a little flawed, but totally fabricated by companies whose only goal is to make a profit. Okay, let's pull back the curtain on the shadowy world of paper mills, a massive industry that's threatening the very foundation of science.
Take a look at this number, 8,000 plus. That is a huge number, and you're probably wondering what it stands for, right? Well, it's not the number of new stars discovered or anything like that. It's actually something much, much darker.
Get this, that is the number of research papers a single publisher had to pull back to retract in just 1 year because they were fraudulent. And we're not talking about a few scientists making mistakes, we're talking about an industrial-scale criminal operation.
So, who's pulling the strings here? Who's committing this crime against science? Turns out it's not just a few bad apples. It's a business with a name and a business model built to exploit the system. They're called paper mills. And yeah, it's pretty much what it sounds like. These are for-profit companies that literally manufacture fake science. They'll write the papers, create bogus data, Photoshop the images, and then sell the finished product or even just an authorship spot to whoever's willing to pay. It's science for sale. Now, you might be thinking, isn't this just scientific misconduct? And that's a great question, but no, this is a whole different beast. Individual misconduct, that's usually one researcher, maybe fudging some results to save their career. Paper mills? We're talking organized crime. They operate on a massive commercial scale, pumping out thousands of fakes, and they're smart about it. They usually aim for less prestigious journals, trying to sneak by unnoticed. So, to really get a grip on this, you have to understand how the business works. Because yeah, it is a business. It's got a supply side, a demand side, the whole shebang.
And that begs the question, right? Who in their right mind is buying this stuff? Why would any scientist or doctor pay for a fake publication? Well, the answer is kind of sad, and it's all about the insane pressure cooker that is modern academia.
See, for a lot of researchers, especially doctors, it's all about publish or perish. Your career, your promotion, even just graduating can hinge on how many papers you've published. And get this, some places even pay out cash bonuses for publications. So the paper mills just slide right into that desperation. They advertise their services quietly on places like WhatsApp and Telegram, promising an easy, fast publication for a price.
All right, so we've got the motive, we've got the customers, but what about the how? How does one of these phantom papers actually worm its way into a real, legitimate scientific journal? Let's follow the fraud. It's actually a pretty slick 5-step pipeline. First, the mill just creates a bunch of bogus papers. They use templates, reuse text, and Photoshop the heck out of images to create fake data. Then, they shotgun these out to journals, sometimes even making up fake peer reviewers that they secretly control. Once the paper gets accepted, boom, step 4. They put it up for sale. They literally advertise the accepted paper, and for a fee, researchers can buy an authorship slot. The first author spot costs the most, naturally. Finally, they just add the paying customers' names to the paper, hit publish, and bam, another piece of junk science enters the official record.
Okay, that all sounds pretty terrifying, I know. But here's the good news. There's a resistance. A whole community of digital detectives is fighting back, and they are getting really good at this.
And these aren't just one type of person either. We're talking about these anonymous data sleuths who are just incredible at spotting fake images. You've got meticulous academics who notice something just off in their own field. Publishers themselves are finally building their own integrity teams. But the real magic happens on platforms like PubPeer, where whistleblowers can flag suspicious papers for everyone to see. It's like a global, crowdsourced fraud-busting operation.
And here's the cool part. You don't have to be some PhD with a supercomputer to join in. A lot of the clues these paper mills leave behind are hiding in plain sight. You just need to know what to look for.
Seriously, you don't need some special access to a publisher's secret files. The evidence is right there in the paper. So let's go detective mode. What are the big red flags?
Okay, clue number 1. The text is just weird. Paper mills often use software to reword things and dodge plagiarism detectors. This leads to what investigators call tortured phrases, just bizarre, nonsensical language. Instead of artificial intelligence, you might see something like counterfeit consciousness. No joke. Also, keep an eye out for papers from totally different authors that have suspiciously similar titles or headings.
Clue number 2 is a big one. The images.
This is where the data supposedly lives, and it's where they do a lot of their dirty work. We're talking about things like Western blots or microscopy photos. Look for signs of copy and paste. Are parts of an image flipped or rotated or just straight up duplicated to look like a different result? Sometimes they just look too perfect, like the background is suspiciously clean. Those are huge warning signs of digital tampering.
And the third big clue is in the nitty-gritty details. The mills get lazy. They might list lab materials, like cell lines that don't actually exist, or they'll fake the grant numbers. But my personal favorite? The citations. When you see a paper about, say, lung cancer, and it's citing articles about black holes in astrophysics, yeah, something's definitely up.
So where does this leave us? What's the future of trust in science? Well, right now, we're in the middle of a high-stakes battle, and both sides are getting smarter.
It really is an arms race. On one side, you have the paper mills. They're getting bolder, bribing editors, creating entire fake special issues of journals, and now using AI to generate text and images. But on the other side, the detectives are fighting back. They're sharing intel, building their own AI screening tools, and forming alliances. It's a constant game of cat and mouse.
But here's the thing. We can build all the fancy detection tools we want, but that's just treating the symptom. As long as we have this publish or perish culture that rewards quantity over quality, there will always be a market for fake papers. The real solution means changing the incentives at the very heart of science.
And this all leads to a pretty chilling final thought. As artificial intelligence gets better and better, as it gets easier to create text and images that look completely real, are we going to lose the ability to tell what's true? Is the truth itself going to get harder to find? The fight for scientific integrity, well, it's really just getting started.